Hey guys, Josh here with a prompt for you this weekend. Of course, the sermon this week was from Genesis 22, the Akedah, the binding of Isaac. Just a tough story, one of the hardest stories in all of Scripture, I think. And I've got an icebreaker for you that's kind of related to the idea of the topic of horror. So the question is this: are you a scary movie person or not? And then you can talk about some of these sub questions like, do you have a favorite scary movie? What was one of the best or worst scary movie moments you've ever had? Did you use a scary movie on a date in order to try to get closer to somebody? What is your thought and your strategy about scary movies in your life? Is it yes or is it no? And do you have a favorite one? Okay, and I asked that because this particular story is almost in the genre of horror. It is a really horrific story. And of course, we know in the end that God does not condone child sacrifice. That is not what he's going to allow. In fact, in a way, this event might be him making a statement that his people will not behave like the nations around and the so-called gods around. And yet, this is just a tough story to get through. So, a couple questions for you for digging deeper. The first one is this. What do you think about the age of Isaac in this story, knowing now that he's at least a young man, maybe even a young adult? What does that change about this event for you? The rabbi sages said that he might have been as old as 37 when this took place. The Hebrew word na'ar, means he's a lad. He's not a small boy anymore. So a lot of the Christian artwork and flannel graph stuff has been wrong about that. He's at least a young man and possibly as strong as his father. And so he's bound, as I mentioned in the sermon, he is willing. He's a willing participant in this. What does that do to the story? How does that change the meaning of what's going on? What is the willingness of the son as a sacrifice do in this story? Second question would be this: what does this passage say to you about faith? Of course, there's a lot of commentary. A lot of people refer to this chapter about having great faith, about the faith of Abraham. And in a sense, that's good, but it also sometimes seems to be a little dangerous or almost even manipulative when people appeal to a story like this and just say then to you, like, you just need to have faith like Abraham. If anyone out there had a sense that God or some God was telling them to do harm to others, you should not have great faith and just obey it. This is not a story that's for you to emulate. God would never ask this of you, not to offer a human as a sacrifice. So we have to struggle with who we know God to be from Scripture and what this story is doing. So what does it tell you about faith? How do you take this story and then make appropriate applications to faith that are not manipulative and that are not asking people to have blind faith? Because remember, Abraham has a long-standing relationship with God and has, through time, built trust and has been trustworthy for God to have this unique one-time test to take place. Okay, so there you go. There's a couple questions for you for digging deeper. So icebreaker is about horror movies, scary movies, and then your two questions have to do with the age of Isaac. What does that do? How does that change your understanding of the story? What does the willingness of the sacrificial victim do for the story? And then the final one being, what should we say about faith from this passage? When you read it in light of Romans 8 or Hebrews 11, what do you think are some fair Christian applications to make? Okay, enjoy the conversation. Love you guys. Miss you all. Have a great Sunday.